The Pokemon games, one of the biggest franchises in video game history. Like any other game, it has its perks and some flaws. And with a huge fan base, Game Freak receives a lot of critics. I agree that there's a lot of potential improvements from the Pokemon company, but there are certain things that Pokemon fans believe that isn't really true or isn't really gonna happen in the Pokemon games. So here are 4 facts that Pokemon fans are not ready to accept. Also, what I mean by that is that I'm going to talk about a majority of fans, so you may not fall under some of these. Let's do this. Firstly, a lot of fans tend to look at the animations of Pokken Tournament and think, wow, why don't mainline Pokemon games have these animations for their moves? Well, it's very complicated, you see. The Pokken animations are very complex and are unique to all Pokken fighters, which is a total of 23 Pokemon in the roster. If they were to do this for around 300 Pokemon in the game, knowing that each Pokemon can learn on average 60 moves, Game Freak would have to make 18,000 animations of that caliber. That's not happening. It's gonna be way too expensive, it would take too much time, and the game would be too heavy. That's not worth it. But I have to admit that some moves animations in the main game can be improved. There will no longer be a game with a full national Pokedex available. With the number of Pokemon only rising, it's normal that Game Freak has to make some cuts because the games would be too heavy. It's really a shame, but think how much work it's gonna take to implement all the models inside the game. Besides, you wouldn't go an extra mile just to get a Bruxish, right? Most game companies target are kids, Pokemon included, so of course they would much rather go for an easy hand-holding game with very marketable Pokemon rather than a radical red level game. Yes, it's true recent games are too easy for us experienced gamers, but imagine if Game Freak made the games too hard. They would lose a big chunk of their customers. One solution that works completely well is re-implementing the difficulty keys system from Pokemon Black and White 2 and enhance it to suit the player. It should also be accessible as soon as the game starts. Finally, this is probably the most important point. As a Pokemon fan, you've probably already experienced your perfect Pokemon game. A lot of people tend to look at the new games and compare them to older games. Little did they know that the perfect Pokemon game they're seeking in the newer generations is in fact the one they enjoyed the most in the older generations. Which is why newer Pokemon games are considered a downgrade in comparison to their favorite game. This is particularly valid for Gen 1ers. They have to accept that their perfect Pokemon game has been released decades ago, and they have to accept that new Pokemon games will never strike them as much as Pokemon Red and Blue. Anyway, that's it for this week. The Pokemon community is an amazing community, but sometimes the truth has to be seen. What do you think? Comment down below and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.